if you know me, you know that I love Gilmore Girls, period. That's why I picked her. Like, apparently like one of the tags said like a romance, so like it's giving stunning if you ask me. Kudos to Jane. She was out here delivering before the girls knew that it was being delivered. Like, y'all, I bought it when it came out and never read it. I just want to go in with like excitement and not expectation. Chances are it will not be completed this year. Let me just not even put that pressure remotely on myself. Like, I just like hearing about New York. Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. For those that are new, hi, hello, how are you? My name is Valisa, and I'm so happy that you decided to stop by. If you enjoyed today's video, do not hesitate to like and subscribe. I would love to have you back. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into today's video. All right, y'all, so today's video is going to be 25 books I want to read in 2025. So this is going to be different from my anticipated reads for 2025 because all of these are going to be mainly like backlist books. So any books that were like released in the past year or further years back are going to be the books that we're going to be focusing on for this one. And this is going to have a lot of books from our Goodreads 2024 nominations, because if you saw that video of me doing a vote with me, I go through the voting with me and I explain like all of these rules and how like some of these books are going to wind up on my 2025 list. So this is also like the final results of that, is the books that made it onto this list. So I'm really excited for this because that means that we have all the different genres on here that I am interested in reading. So hopefully you'll find a little something there for you as well, and you can join me on this 25 in 2025. But without further ado, let's just get into all of these books, and I will do them by their genre. So first up is going to be our standard contemporary fiction, and the two books for this genre that I have on my list is going to be The Blue Sisters. So this book is going to be following four sisters that have like four different lives that they have been living, but one of the sisters have passed away and they all have to come back to their hometown to bury her. And when they get there, they kind of have to deal with the things that like separated them and the reality of the lives that they claim they have been living in separation from each other. So I love a good family book. I love when we have like multiple POVs as well. And so I'm just really excited to read this book as well. I don't know if it's like a true mystery, but there is questions about like what happened to this sister, that she is no longer here with them. So I am intrigued to just read this book and see like all of the feels. I've heard really good reviews about it, so I am excited to give this one a try. And the second book for our contemporary fiction is going to be Wedding People. This has been on my list for so long. It was my book of the month pick for one of the months. I can't even recall, y'all, but I was really excited when I picked this one. And this is going to be about this whole wedding is happening and everyone at this resort is like pretty much there for this wedding except for this one woman, but people just assume she's there for the wedding because that's what everybody else is here, but she's there for her own personal reasons. Like, this was supposed to be a trip she was going to be taking with her husband, and so he's no longer here, so she winds up going by herself, and somehow she winds up crossing paths with the bride there, and the bride is starting to get cold feet, and somehow they just really start connecting and being very vulnerable with each other. So once again, I'm just like really excited about this one. I think like the premises of this is just very interesting, that like, you know, this random woman is kind of crashing this wedding, but like nobody really knows that she is. They just assume that she is a part of this wedding party. And the next book on the list is going to be Husbands and Lovers. So the plot for this one is kind of complicated, but to simplify it as much as possible, we're going to be following these two separate women who share this family heirloom together, and it like changes their lives forever. And while we're just exploring like their lives individually, we also get to see how they overlap with each other, and it's going to be taking place at like two different times. Like, one is much older than the other, but somehow they are entangled together, and we're just going to be exploring like the history of both of them and how the husbands and lovers that they had throughout their life has had an impact on them. I think it's going to be set sometimes like overseas as well as in the States, so I'm just really intrigued to read this one. I was very happy when I picked this as my book of the month too. Like, literally, y'all, I'm going to get better at reading my book of the month books, but like I just get so excited with like selecting the books, choosing the books, and like getting them in the mail that like sometimes a girl forgets to read them type type of thing. So I am just really excited to read this one. I've seen like there's really good reviews out there, and like I said, I like a family type of saga as well. Like if we get multiple POVs of the same family, they're just like always interesting to me, because nobody's story is like ever the same, no matter if they're like sharing the same family. The second book for our historical fiction is going to be Anita de Monte Las. So this is going to be told in a dual POV, almost a dual timeline as well, but it's going to be about their leading girl who finds her way in this prestigious school, and she is a student of color, and she feels like the opportunity she gets isn't equal to the ones that her white counterparts get to get, and she feels like their lives are like really paved really well, while she has to like really work hard to get to the same place that they had to get to. And so our girl winds up getting involved with an art student who is much farther ahead than she is, and somehow she winds up getting like all of these connections, and things start like working out for her, and she comes across this painting by this famous artist of years ago, and she realizes that the path that this artist has taken is the same path that she's taken. The only thing is that artist wind up getting killed, and there's like a mystery of like what happened to her, but like eventually like all that just dies down, and her work is just kind of a thing of the past, and our girl starts to see herself going down that same path as her, and she becomes really intrigued about like this painting and the woman behind it. So I'm just interested in it. I love books that deal with like art. This is like taking place in like art school as well, and so I'm always like intrigued with that, while having like this mystery, and we get to have like these dual timelines. So I'm just excited to officially give this book a chance as well. And the next genre we have is going to be our romance genre, and the first one in here is going to be Just for the Summer. Y'all, I have been wanting to read this book for the longest, and I feel like it's time for me to like put it on a list and make myself like read it, because I just feel like I'm going to love it. And so our two leading characters feel like they are cursed, because every time they date someone, when that person breaks up with them, they wind up meeting the love of their life and getting married, and they're left single again. And so they wind up finding out that the both of them are struggling with this when they get on a Reddit, and they find out that like, oh, okay, you're struggling with this and I'm struggling with this too, so like maybe if we date each other, and when we inevitably break up, then like we won't have to deal with this problem no more, and we will actually meet our person. So they want to make this arrangement, and they agree to just like date for the summer, but things just don't go as planned. Our leading girl, her mother winds up coming back into her life, and they have a very tumultuous relationship. So this is not like a happy-go-lucky, yay, glad to have you here type of situation. And then our leading guy, he winds up getting guardianship over 3 of his siblings. So life is just like not lifing for them at the moment, and it just kind of throws everything up into this whirlwind of their plan. And so they're really like just struggling with that, and the question becomes like, what if like this is meant to be with them, even though like they have all of these issues going on? Like what if like this problem they had is the reason why they were able to meet up together? So I'm just really excited to read this. I think this is like part 3 of like a whole like trilogy that she has, but like I said, like y'all, if I don't need to read it in order, I'm not going to force myself to read it in order. Like whichever book catches my attention is going to be the book that I'm starting with, and so I'm really excited to read this one. And the second book for the romance genre is going to be Love Unwritten. So this is the second book, and the Lakefront Billionaires, I think is the name of the series. And our two leading characters in this one, our leading girl, she is like a struggling singer-songwriter, and she winds up becoming a nanny for our leading guy. And our leading guy, he is just like a billionaire. He's very just focused on raising his son and taking care of his business, but like over the summer his son like begs him to like take a break from work and take him on like a summer trip. And so he winds up having to take the nanny with him, because he just cannot leave work behind, and he wants someone to like also be there to help him with his kid. And so they never had to be this close before, so now that they're like stuck on this trip together going across these islands, they start to catch feelings for each other and start to wonder if this is something that they can actually pursue. I'm so excited for this one. I absolutely love the first book in this series, and the third book is coming out too as well. I mentioned that in my previous video, so this is going to be my way of like going ahead and like catching up so that I can be like right there when book 3 of this series comes out. And the next genre we have is going to be Romantasy, and the next book on this list is going to be Feybound. So this summary for this one is like very brief. It's going to be about these two sisters who are like elves and they live in this world, and her sister is a warrior, so all she knows is like violence and like fighting for yourself and fighting for your rights. And then we have the other sister, who is someone who was just like very optimistic, and she is searching for a brighter future, and she is just trying to find a prophecy that tells them that like things will get better, but like somehow, some way, a mistake winds up happening and they wind up getting exiled out of their elven land, and they find themselves in the world with the Fae, and they start to realize that like this Fae world isn't as scary as they have been taught for it to be. And then they have to like struggle with whether or not they're going to stay loyal to their homeland that's thrown them away, or are they going to find like a new life and a new beginning here in this new Fae land. So this just sounds like very interesting. I feel like I really haven't heard like a lot of people like talk about this book necessarily or anything, but it was like a Goodreads choice nominee, so I am excited to just give this a read, see if I like it or not, and if I want to continue on with this series. Okay, and the second book for this genre is going to be The Veiled Kingdom. So this is going to be about our leading girl, and she winds up having to flee her kingdom because her dad is the king and the people completely despise her. So she's fleeing the kingdom and like taking on a different identity to kind of hide in the streets and away from the people who are out to get her. And along the way, she winds up stumbling across this rebellion, and she is given two choices: either join them or die. So our girl like chose life and decides to join them on their quest. And along and behold, like the leading guy of the rebels, he winds up like falling for her and becoming like her personal protector. Like he wouldn't let anybody else protect her. He won't let anybody, of course, like lay hands on her or anything like that. And so they wind up falling for each other, I guess. So it's definitely giving like enemies to lovers. And she starts to question like her loyalty to her kingdom and whether or not she should be fully investing herself into this rebellion. So it sounds interesting. This cover got pink on it. I'm excited. You know I love the color pink, so I am excited to read this one. I haven't read like a lot of Romantasies, so I'm trying to like get back into Romantasies this year, but I'm like very peculiar about like my Romantasies. Like I don't want like any vampires or anything in there. I don't want any witches in there. Like I'm very particular about them, so I am hoping that like this can like open a door for a new series that I can start following. Okay, and now we enter into the fantasy genre, and the two books for this one are ones that I've been very excited to read. The first one is going to be Scythe. I could be pronouncing this word wrong, but for some reason my brain just doesn't connect them. But this is going to be a YA fantasy, and it's going to be taking place in this world where like humans have conquered everything. There's no diseases, there's like nothing that will cause a person to die. They have these people who are going to be the ones to take people's lives to keep the population at a reasonable amount. So they're the ones that are chosen to go out and like kill people. And so the two teens that are selected to become like the apprentice to take on these positions, this is like something that they do not want to do whatsoever, but they are forced to do this because if they don't take a life, then their life will be taken. So the premises of this just sounds like very interesting because it has like that utopian dystopian vibes to it, because like they're living like in this perfect world where there is like no sickness, but like you have people coming out there to like kill other people and take them out of this world type of thing. So I just think like the premises of this is like very interesting, and I've heard like such amazing things about this entire series. I have like the entire series already. I don't even know, like it's right here. You can see I have the other two books like right here, and then the other one is on my book cart. So I am really excited to officially just dive into this one and see if like this is a story that I'm gonna like. But I feel like I will, because I like YA stories that are like utopian dystopian type of style. The next book is going to be The Book of Doors. So this book is about this girl who winds up inheriting like this book, who winds up getting gifted this book by a customer called The Book of Doors. And what happens is like you open this book and you can take you to like any place that you want to go. So she's just like having a blast with this book, and she goes along with her friend and she introduces a friend to it, and her friend, they are just having a ball traveling with this book. But like long and behold, they start to find out that they are not the only ones who possess like these magical books, and there are other people out there, even dangerous people out there, that want to get their hands on this book in particular because it's going to help them with whatever plans that they have. And so our girls are now kind of like in over their head, and they wind up running into like, I guess like the leading guy of this, and he is very familiar with like these magical type of books, and he's like trying to flee away from his own problems, and he kind of explains to them like what is going on here and how he can help them. So I'm just excited about this because because you have like magical books, you have like a mystery, you have like all of these moving parts going along with it, and apparently like one of the tags said like a romance, so like it's giving stunning if you ask me. But yeah, overall I'm just really excited to read this one. Okay, and the next genre we have is going to be our science fiction genre, and the book that I'm picking for this one is going to be A Ministry of Time. So this book just sounds so intriguing. It's going to be about like our leading girl, and she has been tasked with being a bridge in this time traveling feasibility test. So our girl, she's been just out here in the world like really struggling, and so once they present her with this opportunity to make a lot of money doing this, she agrees to do it. And so as a bridge, she is sent back into time, and she's like stuck with this man that she has to live with from like the 1800s. And so you just kind of spend time with the two of them, and like slowly by slowly, somehow, some way, they wind up falling in love and discovering that like the real premises behind this time traveling isn't as innocent as it has been presented to them. And so yeah, this is the only sci-fi book that's on the list at the moment. Sci-fi genre in general, like sometimes it's a little hard for me to get into sci-fi, but I feel like this one has like this modern touch to it, so it may be a little bit easier for me to get into it. And I just wanted to make sure that I did have at least one book from the sci-fi genre on my list. Okay, and moving on to our next genre, which is going to be our non-fiction one, and the first book up is going to be One in a Millennial. So this is just going to be pretty much like a commentary of a millennial, and she's just going to kind of talk about like things that millennials have to deal with and the things that shaped millennials, from like AOL to like what it means to be like a millennial mother in today's society, and like all of the topics in between. So as a millennial myself, I'm just like excited to see what she has to say and see if there's anything relatable in this. I just saw like the cover, which just really grabbed me, and then it's like the topics that it's discussing, like friendship, feelings, and like fangirling and everything. So I'm just really excited to give this book a try. And the other book that I have is going to be The Anxious Generation. So this book is going to be written by the psychologist who really just explores like this huge epidemic that kind of happened in the 2000s and the effects that it is having. Like the summary goes into like a lot more detail about like the things that he's going to be looking into, but like overall he's just going to explain like how things have made teens more anxious in today, and like how like the adults are becoming more anxious, and what having like a phone based like childhood is, because there is like a whole generation of kids who like grew up with like smartphones, and like how they're having an effect on people as well. So also in this book, he just doesn't give you the problem, he also goes like a call to action and tries to come up with like his own solution and help from others to kind of help with this problem and something that could continue on. As a psych major in undergrad, topics like these are very intriguing for me, so I am interested in reading this book and just really seeing like how the effects of like living a life like this has had on generations, and like how we can like stop this or improve this and like not make it something that needs to continue on. So I am really excited to read this one. The next genre we have is going to be Memoirs, and the book that I picked for this one is going to be The Third Gilmore Girl. So if you know me, you know that I love Gilmore Girls, period. That's why I picked her. Like I want to read this lady's story because I feel like she did such an amazing job playing Emily, and I know like the character Emily, but to get to know the actress behind Emily, I'm just really excited for that. It seemed like she had a very like interesting life. I think she was on like Broadway, she did dancing, and she's going to also be the one to read the audiobook for this, and that is the way that I plan on listening to this book, is through audio. So I'm just really excited to read about The Third Gilmore. And the next genre we have is going to be like nonfiction history, and this is going to be When Women Ran Fifth Avenue. So this book is going to be covering the three women who kind of led the way for the golden age of American department stores in New York City. So this is a topic that I never even like really considered, like the beginning stages of like department stores and like they're having a golden age moment. But this book is going to be talking about these three women, and like I said, like I just like hearing about New York. I especially like if it is going to be on these iconic streets and stuff as well, and getting to know like how department stores kind of like really had this golden age and how like these women were the pioneers of it. I'm interested to see like the good, the bad, the ugly, and like all of these things that took place to to help like establish this moment. So this is one of the books, and the other book on this list for the history section is going to be The Bookshop, which is going to give you the history of bookshops in America. So I am super excited to read this book as well, because you know, as a reader, you want to know the history of the places that you used to buy this book from. And so this is just really going to explore everything from like your big retail sellers, how they came to be, your indie stores, your sidewalk sellers, your libraries, like just everything that connects to the book shopping experience. And so as a reader, I saw this and I was just like, I immediately had to add this to the list because it just sounds like a great like history book, like almost for readers and people who just like to buy books. Okay, and a debut novel from an author that I wanted to read last year, and that is going to be The Truth According to Ember. So this is going to be about a girl who is a Native American, and she's been really struggling trying to get a job. And so she decides to just go ahead and say that, you know what, I really don't have Native American in me. I'm completely white instead. And when she puts this down on her application and tells this lie, she winds up actually getting the job, and she gets on this job and she meets a Native American, and he has like a crush on her and everything, and they try to keep their romance like out of the limelight, but like they wind up getting in a tricky situation and someone tries to blackmail them. And so our girl just keeps spiraling out with telling lie after lie after lie to cover up like all of her secrets, and things start to get out of control, and our girl finds herself in a situation where she has to decide, should I just like tell the truth? And so the reviews seem to be really good for this one. This cover is like also really cute, and I like that the fact that our leading characters are like Native American, and this is like a romance but like also a rom-com as well. And also, I know you're probably like, girl, are we at 25 yet? We're not at 25 yet, but one of my books actually double dips into another genre, which is going to be like audiobooks. So an audiobook that I really wanted to read last year was going to be Just for the Summer in its audiobook version. So that's like doubling up as like two books because it's in two different genres, because that is the book for my audiobook selection group. It's going to be this one. So I'm really excited to give this one a try as well in audiobook form and kind of like kill two birds with one stone. Then we have some other books that are on the bottom of the list. I'm just going to put these as like miscellaneous because I forgot to like put them in their categories when I was like creating my list. These were kind of like thrown at the bottom, but this is the miscellaneous list because it's going to have some fantasies, some romance books, and some other books that I forgot to put in their correct genre, but all's good, all's all right. The first is going to be Mistborn. After he released this final book, I think it's like Wit and Truth, like y'all, I just want to enter my Brandon Sanders era, so I put the Mistborn up. I feel like this is a great starting place. I've done like a lot of like research here and there, like pulling up things, reading articles, listening to book talkers, booktubers, and trying to figure out like the best starting point of entering the Cosmo universe, because that is like a reading goal of mine. I might not be able to complete it this year. Chances are it will not be completed this year. Let me just not even put that for pressure remotely on myself, because it is a huge universe, but it is definitely one that I want to get into and I want to enjoy, and I just really want to become a part of this. It seems like so exciting, and I love that like all of his books are interconnecting, and like Brandon Sanderson, like as an author, I don't know, he seems like a nice person as well, so I'm just like, why not support his books? So I'm definitely interested in going ahead and starting the Mistborn series, because I'm really excited to read The Way of Kings as well. That's like also why I want to read this. But yeah, this is one of the books there. And so a little history about like this one is going to be about like our leading girl, and she's going to be like this savior almost for her country. There's like this mist that has been like taking over the city, and she's going to be like the person that winds up saving it. I really didn't want to read too much into like the summary of this one. I just want to go in with like excitement and not expectation. The next book is going to be Mere Christianity. If you saw my reading vlog where I read this book during the holidays, of course I was going to read C.S. Lewis, so I am just really excited to read this one. It is Mere Christianity. Is one of his best books that's out there. I think it's like tied with The Great Divorce, and so I really don't know much about like what this one is about, so I'll just like read you what they say for this. It says, in the classic Mere Christianity, C.S. Lewis explores the common ground upon which all of those of Christian faith stand together, bringing together Lewis's legendary broadcast talks during World War II from his three previous books, The case for Christianity, Christian behavior, and beyond personality. Mere Christianity provides an unequal opportunity for believers and non-believers alike to hear his powerful apology for the Christian faith. So yeah, I'm just really intrigued to just read this one, because I mean, that summary within itself still didn't give you anything. But I just feel like this is like a very popular book, and also for the fact that like this was read over the radio during World War II. That's like a fact that I didn't know, so that's like very interesting to me as well. Okay, and the next book that should have been with the fantasy section is going to be Babel. So I have been wanting to read a book by this author, and I keep feeling like I keep grabbing ones that are like part of series or whatnot, and so I wanted to read one that was a standalone, and I've heard a lot of great things about Babel. So I guess like I'm just going to be also reading you the summaries of these, because like your girl, this is not her first video of the day. Okay, so it's getting harder and harder for me to read summaries and summarize them for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and like read the summary for this one. It says, an act of translation is always an act of betrayal. In 1828, Robin Swift, orphan, is brought to London by the mysterious professor. There he is trained for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he will enroll in Oxford University, prestigious Royal Institution of Translation, also known as Babel. The tower and its students are the world center for translation and, more importantly, magic, silver working, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power as the arcane craft services the empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, but knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, Robin realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. As he studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide, can a powerful institution be changed from within, or does a revolution always require violence? So the context of that sounds so good. I'm really excited to read this one, because like it's been out for quite a few years and it still holds a solid standing of 4.17 on Goodreads, and that's like with over 300,000 ratings. So the girlies are saying like this book is really good, and I have like the hardcover. Like y'all, I bought it when it came out and never read it, so this is like my way of really getting a chance to read this book. And in addition to those books, I also have like two classics that's on the list as well, and that is going to be Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. So yeah, there's like a movie and everything out, and I hear like the girls talk about it here and there, and so I want to do like I did with Pride and Prejudice, and I just want to like read the book and then like fall in love with the movie, because Pride and Prejudice like literally is my favorite classic, right up there with The Great Gatsby. I would say like The Great Gatsby and them two are like neck and neck. But yeah, Sense and Sensibility, it is like really hard for me to find a summary for this one, so let me see if Goodreads is going to do a little bit better so I can give y'all a better summary. Okay, so we do have like a summary for this. The copy that I have, it just literally has a quote on the back of it. But anyways, our leading girl like wears her heart on her sleeve, and when she falls in love with this dashing but unsuitable man, she ignores her sister's warning that like this behavior and her being like very impulsive and falling in love with this man is not going to go well, and it's going to open her up to like a lot of critique from other people and a lot of gossip as well. Meanwhile, her sister, who's like trying to warn her from all of this, is like struggling with her own love and relationships and lack thereof. So through their parallel experience of love and its threat and loss, the sisters learn that sense must mix with sensibility if they are to find personal happiness in a society where status and money govern the rules of love. This just sounds so juicy, and the fact that like Jane Austen was giving the girlies plot like this and they just slept on it. I think her great nephew was the one that had to like revive him. Like he saw the potential. He was like, girlies, I can't believe y'all didn't have appreciation for this when you were here. So thank you and kudos to him, because that plot is so juicy, and the fact that it was like written in that time period as well by a woman author, like kudos to Jane. She was out here delivering before the girls knew that it was being delivered. Okay, and the other classic on the list is going to be The Phantom of the Opera. So this, I have literally watched the movie for the Phantom of the Opera. When I was in band, we did like we played the music for the Phantom of the Opera. I have seen the musical for the Phantom of the Opera, but I have never read the book. I just know that like it's very much so giving you misunderstood, like leading guy type of vibes, but like also it's been a really long time since I have seen anything related to the Phantom of the Opera. So I did wind up pulling up the summary for this, so once again I give you all like a proper summary because we're in the miscellaneous part of it all. So like if you made it this far, like we're vibing, we're just having fun, we're just talking about books type of way, and I'm just reading you summaries and like telling you about the book that I'm excited to read. So this one is going to be about like this young girl, and her father is like this famous musician, and he dies, and she is raised in the Paris Opera House with his dying promise of a protective angel of music to guide her. So after a time at the opera house, she begins hearing a voice who she eventually teaches her how to sing beautifully. All goes well until Christine's childhood friend Roel comes to visit his parents, who are patrons of the opera, and sees Christine successfully singing on stage. The voice, who is deformed, murders ghost of the opera house named Eric, however, grows violent in this terrible jealousy until Christine suddenly disappears. The Phantom is in love, but it can only spell disaster. So pretty much it's giving like this guy, I think like the Phantom is like a real person and people just call him like the ghost of the opera house type of situation. But like I said, I don't like fully recall everything. I just know it has like those gothic-ish vibes to it. And yeah, I think I have like a copy of it on my shelves as well. So I was like, you know what, I want to read more classics this year, and I feel like, you know, Jane Austen, and then like a classic that has like literally been interpreted in every which way you can in its original book form, into a play, into movies, and everything as well. So I am excited to read that book. And that takes us to 25 if I am correct, y'all. I was jumping all around this list here and there and trying to make sure I did this in order and I didn't miss anything, but I feel like every single genre is covered in there thanks to like a Goodreads as well. But yeah, y'all, I don't know if I'll make all 25 of these books, but I just like a good challenge. I like to see like how many was I really able to make through. So some of these you may see in some future reading vlogs as well, but like I like to try, and I love to do a good like book reading challenge. So 25 and 25 just sounds like a good time, and this would give me a chance to focus more of my backlist things, and I can like, when I don't know what to read, I can just pull up this list and say read something off of this list. But yeah, let me know if any of the books mentioned or you have read or are on your list as well. I would love to know in the comments down below. And yeah, if you don't want to chat it up, but you want to let me know that you made it all the way to the end, please feel free to leave behind this emoji to let me know that you did. If you want to follow me on any of my other socials, I will have them linked down below. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye.